I just want to do a brief video. I haven't done one really on apologetics or Islam for a while. And every so often you listen to what Muslims are saying, and there's a frustration builds up in you because you hear them saying stuff that is just patently nonsense and repeating the same old rhetoric. One of the Muslims' main arguments, and this is what they seem to rely on, is to attack the New Testament as a reliable account. First of all, let me just give you a quote. As we will see in a moment, the oldest and best sources we have for knowing about the life of Jesus are the four Gospels of the New Testament: Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. This is not simply the view of Christian historians who have a high opinion of the New Testament and its historical worth. It is the view of all serious historians of antiquity of every kind, from committed evangelical Christians to hardcore atheists. That's a quote from our dear friend Bart Ehrman. So we see that even atheists and historians, everyone accepts the most reliable accounts that we have of Jesus are the four Gospels. Now the Muslims' problem is that they attack the New Testament, they attack the four Gospels as being unreliable. So if they're going to do that, they have to produce a more reliable source of the life of Jesus. And there isn't one. So, they shoot themselves in the foot because they're attacking the reliable source of the life of Jesus, but they offer no alternative. Now you say, well, but they say that the Quran is the alternative. Well, that doesn't really stand up to scrutiny. The Quran was a book appeared in the 7th century. The Quran appeared in Arabia. Nobody in Arabia was alive during the time in the 7th century was alive during the time of Jesus. It doesn't trace back to the 1st century, and if we study the Quran closely, we'll see that most of the stories in the Quran are borrowed from other sources. For instance, in Surah 19 we have the story of John the Baptist. If you look in Luke's Gospel, I think it's chapter 1, you will see the very same story, pretty much very close to it, in Luke's Gospel. So we can see where these came from. And you say, well, the Bible wasn't translated into Arabic until the 8th century, but it was in Syrian. The Diatessaron was around in 180. And, stories have a habit of getting about and being retold. Other stories in there are, Jesus speaking from the manger, Jesus turning birds and giving them life. These stories come from apocryphal sources. They don't come from the four Gospels, which, as we have just shown, are accredited to be the most reliable source of the life of Jesus. So really, when the Muslims argue against the New Testament, they leave themselves with nothing, because they have no alternative. They don't have an alternative account to the life of Jesus. The Quran contains very little about Jesus. It doesn't really say where he was born. It doesn't give any genealogies. It doesn't give any history of the life of Jesus. It just gives some very bare bones and some what I would call polemics. But really, it's a polemic. It tries to present a Jesus that suits the Islamic point of view. So don't be fooled when you listen to Muslims who attack the New Testament. I'll read that quote again for you because it's really worth reading and thinking seriously about this. As we will see in a moment, the oldest and best sources we have for knowing about the life of Jesus are the four Gospels of the New Testament: Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. This is not simply the view of Christian historians who have a high opinion of the New Testament and its historical worth. It is the view of all serious historians of antiquity of every kind. Notice that. All serious historians of antiquity of every kind. From committed evangelical Christians to hardcore atheists. And of course that quote is from somebody who is in many ways a critic of the New Testament, is Bart Ehrman. So you can see that, you know, the Muslims' approach is just fallacious. And I'm just putting this out because so many Christians fall into the trap of allowing Muslims just to, you know, attack the New Testament and beat them over the head and try and say that, you know, it's unreliable. Well, next time a Muslim does that to you, say, well, what is your reliable source of the life of Jesus? Where do you get your reliable information about Jesus from? And how comprehensive is it? You know, the accounts of the gospel spend a huge amount of time describing what he said, who he spoke to, and the last 3 days of his life are covered in great depth in the four Gospels. And if you read the Quran, when it comes to the last 3 days of his life and what actually happened, basically it doesn't say. It doesn't give you any real information. It just makes a negative statement with no backup for that statement. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope this encourages you to not to be fooled by the Islamic polemic and their continual attack on the New Testament. Without the New Testament, there would be no Islam. They wouldn't know who Jesus was. They wouldn't know anything about Jesus. You know, same with the Old Testament. A book that appears in the 7th century and starts talking about Moses and Abraham. You'd have to say, well, who's Moses? Who's Abraham? And the way you would find out who Moses and Abraham was, if you had no prior knowledge of them except from the Quran, would be to go back to the Jewish sources, the manuscripts of the Old Testament. So it's the proverbial soaring through the branch you're standing on picture that we see with the Muslims. So God bless you all, and I'm just going to leave it there. Have a good day, and I hope to see you again soon.